Good afternoon and welcome to Saturday LinkedIn Live. It's an absolute pleasure to host authors, speakers, and thought leaders. In our first episode a couple of weeks back, we had the pleasure of hosting thought leader and author Sahil Mehta on his book Break Free and helping each of us as leaders declutter. In the subsequent week, we had VTech sharing the power of LinkedIn. It's the absolute necessity for every entrepreneur and every leader to actually build their brand on LinkedIn. So it's very fitting today to have international author, thought leader, Tanvi Bhatt with us today. So please join me in welcoming Tanvi. Good afternoon, Tanvi.
Good afternoon, Gautam. Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to finally catch up with you on the LinkedIn Live at least.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, Tanvi. And we're in Women's Week, Women's Month, March. To me, every day is Women's Day in that sense, but with the theme of March being spoken globally about as Women's Month, it's an absolute pleasure to have you as the first woman female leader on the platform this month. So, yeah, you have written a book. You built a personal branding festival of your own. You've been coaching leaders in the region, both corporate and SME business owners, all in the space of helping them build their personal brand. So first and foremost, why personal branding? What is personal branding and why personal branding is so important?
So let me answer your first question, why personal branding? Okay. So let me backtrack on how I ventured into this industry of personal branding. It was fresh out of my B school. I had just set up my fledgling entrepreneurial practice, and I was doing some coaching and training work in the areas of public speaking, corporate domain, business etiquettes, and the works. And I was struggling, okay, because I did not hail from a business family. It was extremely difficult for me to understand how to set up a business around coaching and training because I was just into it for the passion, because I loved doing what I do. So that's when I realized I am not going to be able to grow my business or even be in business, forget grow my business, unless I create some sort of presence for myself, that I have to stop pushing myself because I hate sales. I absolutely hate sales. So I really want to create some sort of a leverage where people are drawn into who I am, what I do, and how I can add value to their lives. So that got me to the concept of personal branding, and I discovered a global multi-million dollar industry that existed. And this is as recent, I still want to say recent, as 2011, 2012, where I was looking for a mentor in India to help me build my own brand as an entrepreneur. And to my shock and awe, I realized there was nobody doing anything remotely similar to the concept of personal brand strategy for entrepreneurs or senior leaders in the corporates. And for a minute, I was really dejected. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But then the aha moment happened. I'm like, okay, if nobody is doing anything in this space, I'm going to be the first one to bring this concept in India, to create an industry around it, and to create a benchmark of services and value proposition that will help aspiring thought leaders, CXOs, business leaders to really understand what it takes from evolving from being a leader to a thought leader in their respective organizations as well as industries. So that was my foray into the world of personal branding. And I have to say, I am so glad that I did not give it even a second thought at that point of time, because I was already struggling in business. I realized that if I do something new as well, it may just backfire because I had no idea how to run the business. But everything I learned when I entered this industry of personal branding, when I became a certified coach and strategist, I applied everything on myself, built a successful business practice, built my own brand identity, presence, reputation, credibility, and did all those things again and again and again for hundreds and hundreds of leaders across the world. So to answer your question, it's the only career strategy today worth adopting if you really want to stand out from the crowd, if you really want to be visible, be vocal, be regarded as the go-to expert or authority or a thought leader in your respective industry. Honestly, it all boils down to what you want to get out of your career and your life, how ambitious you are, how driven you are to share your message, your big idea, your vision, your work with the world, and how you are changing or transforming your respective industries via the work that you do. So I hope I've answered both your questions now.
Yes, to some extent. It's been great to hear your journey. I think it's been over 10 years now. You said 2011. So it's been 10 years of helping leaders build their personal brand. And obviously, you started with yourself because first and foremost is to build your own personal brand, because obviously it's important before you can share your experience, your knowledge, and help people. It's that you have built your own brand as a thought leader, as an expert, as an author. You even recently hosted a branding festival where you had global authors and speakers on that, many eminent names who were on your platform, which speaks accolades of yourself as a thought leader to have attracted over 3 days, I believe you had a branding festival. So congrats on that recent initiative that you hosted. There are many great leaders out there, as we say. I mean, be it entrepreneurs, be it senior leaders who are successful, they're doing well. So why do they need to consider personal branding? What is is it for everyone, first and foremost? And if you're already successful, what's the why that you could consider building your personal brand?
That's a great question, Gautam. I think the answer is yes and no. Okay, so if you believe you are not somebody who wants to invest that kind of time and energy and effort in doing more than what you're already doing to give back to your community, your tribe, the people who are literally looking up to you as a source of inspiration, knowledge, wisdom, then personal branding is not for you, because believe you me, it does take time and effort to create that level of brand presence, value creation, and credibility in the industry. If you're a leader who's happy and content doing his 9 to 9, obviously in today's day and age, and if you think that I really don't have the extra bandwidth, I really don't even have the extra inclination to do more than that, I would strongly advise that person to not even think about building a personal brand, because it is a lot of work. But you're the person who's still busy with their 9 to 9 and has that burning desire to create the legacy that he wants to leave behind, to bequeath upon the world, to share his expertise, his experience, his knowledge, his wisdom that he's amassed in his journey of life, growth, and success that he's seen, and wants to leave it on for the next generation of leaders, then yes, using the principles or fundamentals of personal branding, of thought leadership strategy to help you carve your own niche as a thought leader, as an expert in the making, depending on where you are in your career and how soon in your career you are starting this process as well. You can definitely start this journey of transcendence and be miles ahead of the so called competition in your industry. Because I think if I wouldn't have started at that point of time when I did, I would have probably done something else. I would have never been in this industry. It's extremely important for all aspiring thought leaders to understand that if they believe, deeply believe that they have a lesson, a learning, an insight, a wisdom that they have amassed because of what life has taught them, what they have extracted out of their life lessons and journey, and they want to pass it on, then instead of just doing very sketchy work here and there of talking, blogging, writing, why don't you work with an expert, a coach, or strategist to help you bring that entire life experience together, create a wonderful confluence of different schools of thought, passions, aspirations, vision that you have for your life moving forward based on the kind of work that you are feeling drawn to do, and then present it to the world in the right way so that it's not only getting you the right momentum, but also helps you get the right positioning and authority for the kind of work you've done and you continue doing. Because there are two things about it. Leaders, we expect them to be storytellers because they want to inspire the world because of the journey that they've gone through. While that's great, there's nothing against that aspect of leadership. I think what differentiates thought leaders from just leaders is that they are always the story shapers. It's great to have a story to tell, but when you're looking at thought leaders that we look up to today, why do we look up to them? Because they're not just stuck on to the past, they're not just telling the story of the successes they've had in the past, they're having conversations with you today on what they are doing today to change tomorrow for everyone in their community. So if you are that person who's aspiring to be a story shaper, then yes, personal branding is going to help you accelerate your journey of transcendence from being a leader to a thought leader in your industry.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks, Tanvi. I mean, you certainly, when we first met over a year back, you certainly, by meeting you, I really realized the value of what personal branding is. And, I shared with you my journey of where I was, and that's where I sort of wrote my book, Breaking Bread, last year, which was definitely a step in building my personal brand to be seen as a thought leader building relationships, connecting people, facilitating conversations. The next step, when we were discussing this, you said this, I said, where do I start? And that's the time when we did a personal brand audit. So if someone says, okay, I understand what personal branding is, I realize that I definitely, despite being successful, I really want to make sure that I'm seen as a thought leader, as an industry expert. I'm positioned as synonymous with that particular niche area. Is the first step that they could explore a personal brand audit? And if so, what is a personal brand audit?
Absolutely. So, because the two words that come together are so unlike to be used together. But today we are so used to using the words personal branding together. I mean, 10 years ago, when I would go and speak to a lot of corporate leaders about personal branding, they'd be like, what is that? Right? I mean, the branding for products and companies. What is personal branding? So I started, explaining it in this perspective that the two words, when they come together, there's a synergy between them, which is very strategic hindsight of what you're supposed to be doing and what you're doing today and how it's really impacted your career and your journey so far. So, to tap into that hindsight or retrospection to understand if the journey that you've had, if the kind of brand, reputation, equity that you've built in the industry is what you believe it is, or you are absolutely okay living in oblivion and not be aware of it at all, and what kind of reputation you've built in your industry. Because while in the corporate, we've always done our corporate 360 performance reviews, appraisals, etc. How many times all of us really take a moment, pause, and ponder on the kind of reputation we have built, on the kind of perception that exists in the hearts and minds of people that we live, work, and play with. So it's very simple. Before beginning any journey of personal growth, transformation, personal branding, leadership journeys, we always do an assessment to check and map where we are today. Because unless we know where we are today, what our brand strength and equity is today, how will you do one of the following? Either you may have to enhance it, you may have to rectify it, or you may have to reinvent it altogether because it's completely disjoint to what you believed it to be or you want it to be moving forward. So anything can be applicable for you depending on what results you find at the end of a brand audit. So if there's a leader who's really serious about tapping into the collective wisdom of his community or tribe that he lives, works, and plays with to understand what kind of an impact he's had on them, on their lives, on their businesses, personally and professionally. Doing a personal brand assessment and audit at any point of time in your career and life is absolutely critical if you are serious about joining this journey with a coach or a strategist to build your personal brand more strategically. Because unless you know where you are today, how will you really build on that and enhance it further?
Absolutely. Absolutely agree, and I can share from experience that building, going through the personal brand audit with yourself, it gave me the clarity of where I am today, because it's not only what I think about myself, but actually there was an opportunity to connect with my, connections, whether it's friends, whether it's your suppliers, your vendors, your network, and understand how they perceive you as a brand, and that gave me a lot of clarity because I understand what's working for me, what is my sort of aspiration as a personal brand, and then I could identify the gaps, because then that's how you identify what the journey you need to take to build that brand, because you know where you're standing today. So I think that's something that I found a lot of value in that experience. So yeah, thank you. So I mean, in terms of, we had LinkedIn, last week, as a bit from LinkedIn, speaking on LinkedIn last week. How does one use one's personal branding to sort of, how does LinkedIn fit into all of this in terms of building your personal brand and standing out by providing valuable content? What are the sort of touch points you could share on LinkedIn in that sense?
I think there are three extremely important elements to be cognizant of when you are approaching LinkedIn and building your personal brand on LinkedIn at least. While there are n number of tips, tricks, strategies we can adopt, but three things I really want to leave people with today are that you need to have a stellar brand presence in terms of what story you are telling to the world. You have to present the best of your journey so far because people are really looking at you for those first 5 seconds and deciding if they want to get in touch with you, extend an invite to you, accept your invite or not. So use all the real estate that you have on your profile page of LinkedIn to its absolute fullest and ensure that you're differentiating yourself with the tone of words that you use, the communication that you have. Don't just copy paste your resume or cover letters over there in your summary section, experience section. Ensure that you have a beautiful profile picture of yourself. Use a real estate, which is your LinkedIn cover banners to showcase the best of your brand with that one snapshot, because that is the first window of your brand to the world that you're presenting. That one picture is literally what all thousands of words that you've written on your LinkedIn profile. If people are going to be flawed with that one cover image, your picture, your headline, your title, everything else is going to follow their own. If you're not impressing people with that first block of brand experience, they're not even going to read anything else that you've probably done amazing work on presenting to the world. So that first block of brand experience, which is your cover image, your picture, and your LinkedIn title, is extremely important for people to understand who you are and why you are so exceptionally different in the kind of work you do, what you do exceptionally different than everyone else. Right. So I have a very simple formula that I usually use with my clients, and I'm happy to share that right now to help people craft an extremely unique, differentiated, and yet impactful LinkedIn headline for themselves. Right.
Sure, please.
So, yeah, I'm happy to share
We
that
we
right now.
we always love actionable takeaways. So please.
Yes. So I call it your personal brand manifesto, okay? And it consists of three questions that you should answer about yourself and then beautifully weave it together to craft your stellar LinkedIn headline. So first question that you must ask yourself is, who are you? Okay? Like what kind of a person are you? What kind of a professional are you? And second question that you have to ask yourself is, what kind
No.
of work you're doing? And try and keep it extremely crisp and concise to communicate your brand value proposition differentiated from 10 other people doing similar work in your industry or in your organization as well. Okay. And third, the most important element is your target audience. Never forget this. You want your LinkedIn profile to resonate with a specific group of target audience. You don't want to be Coca Cola speaking to the entire wide world. You want to be a Rolls Royce who speaks to only few select people that can derive maximum benefit from the brilliance that you have to offer. So, who you are in terms of the professional value proposition you bring on the table, what you do differently, and whom you do it for are three extremely powerful elements which you have to weave it together in one pretty statement that is your brand statement. We call it a personal brand statement essentially, but weave it together and create a wowness in that one statement that people see and they're compelled to read further to deep dive into how you do it and how you can possibly help them achieve that impact that you've spoken about in your one liner. Okay. So that's the first step of LinkedIn. Second step of LinkedIn is, like I said, use each and every dimension of content that LinkedIn allows you to populate and fill and decorate your profile with. Because unless you've done that, you're really leaving the money on the table, as we call it, because you've not taken all the free real estate that LinkedIn offers you to showcase the best of your brand, expertise, journey, lessons, learnings, awards, accolades, publications, so on and so forth. And third, and the most important thing is that we see today being so generously shared on LinkedIn. Every day we just go on LinkedIn not to check out more people, but to consume content, right? So ask yourself, are you a creator or a consumer of content on LinkedIn? Ask yourself, in the last 1 month or 3 months, how many pieces of content have I created vis-a-vis how many pieces of content I consume on LinkedIn every single day? And that's where you'll realize that, oh my God, am I building my brand or am I, just consuming other people's brand? So you'll get that clarity for yourself. And if your answer is weighing towards more around consumption, then you need to understand that if you're really aspiring to build your brand as a thought leader, you need to start being a creator of original thought leadership driven content on LinkedIn. Okay. And to help you do that, I'm again going to share a little bit of practical advice for you. So ask yourself three questions again to be in complete control over what kind of content you start creating on LinkedIn. So ask yourself three questions, very simple. What's that one subject matter or topic that I want people to associate me, my brand, my expertise with? Okay, for example, in my case, if I had to do it, I'll give you an example. It would be personal branding naturally, or perhaps I'm thinking out loud. No, I don't want it to be only personal branding because today there are dime a dozen personal brand coaches out there talking about personal branding. So for me, I wanted to be thought leadership driven person branding because nobody's talking about that. And essentially, the philosophy that I operate on is your brand is your thought leadership, period. So ask yourself, what is that one question, your go-to skill, expertise, your superpower that you want people to know you for? And devote 50% of your content creation to that topic. When I say 50%, if you decide as a content goal for a given month, saying that I'm going to create, say, 3 pieces of content in a week, so 12 pieces of content in a month, 50% of those 12 pieces of content, whether they are short posts or a combination of articles, etc., have to be driven by that one topic because you want people to consume more and more ideas, perspectives, insights, knowledge, inputs by you on that one topic, which is your brand superpower. You have to create 6 pieces of content around that. Okay. So we call it your emperor superpower. Remember back in those old days, we used to have this saying that be the jack of all trades and master of none. I'm sure we all have heard
Yes,
of it,
yes.
right? But today, in the personal branding parlance, it is reinvented itself. Let me say that. So today you have to be the emperor of that one skill set or superpower that nobody can beat you on. You are the whole and soul. You're the category creator. You dominate that topic and expertise in your industry. And at the same time, you have to be the king of some things that you're really, really good at, the skills or strengths you're really, really good at. And you're constantly honing them, right, as you grow personally and professionally. And finally, you have those few jack skills, which are very generic. You need to know those things to survive in the industry that you are operating in. So, from this definition, I want people to identify those 3 skill sets or those 5 skill sets for themselves. So, first, like I said, ask yourself what is your brand superpower and that one skill you want people to know about your brand that you are extremely good at that and nobody can beat you on that. Identify that as your superpower or your emperor skill set. Devote 50% of your content creation only for that skill set month after month after month for the next 6 months. And then you'll see magic happen because people will start approaching you, perceiving you as a thought leader in that space. Now, about your king skills, you can have 2 skills or strengths or talents or gifts that you can choose and create around 30% of content around this. So, out of the balanced 6 pieces of content, you can have at least 4 pieces of content in a month around these 2 topics. For example, in my case, if I were to do this exercise to exemplify it for you, it could be public speaking and it could be the art of LinkedIn management, LinkedIn brand management. So I could create pieces around these two and help people understand what is it that they should be doing when it comes to the art of public speaking to create a stellar personal brand experience for their communities and at the same time create a fabulous LinkedIn personal brand presence. And finally, the jack skill sets are those which are very generic skill sets you must have to be operational in any given industry that you choose to play in. So select 2 to 3 skill sets which are relevant for you and your brand to be operational in that industry. So people should understand. For example, in my case, if I'm in the coaching and training space, I have to be a good coach. I have to be a good speaker. I don't have to be an extraordinary speaker, but I have to be a good speaker. I have to be a good facilitator. I have to have really good listening skills. So those are the skills, or I have to be a really good networker as an entrepreneur. So those are the skills that I would want to speak about and teach, and what I have learned in my journey of being a coach, being a speaker, being an entrepreneur for the last 10 years. So this is how you create your entire brand strategy on LinkedIn, looking at the kind of expertise that you bring to the table, what you want your community to know about you, what kind of value you want to add to them around your core expertise ecosystem, and design a content strategy month after month around these 5 to 6 areas of expertise. I know that was a very long answer, but I hope that
There's,
really helps
there's
people.
a long answer, but packed with a lot of value and some actionable ideas. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thinking of the corporates, I mean, how can leaders evolve into thought leaders with the art of strategic thinking? Could you share some insights into that?
Yes, well, it's absolutely a journey to start thinking like a thought leader and not just, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be able to wake up one morning and say that, okay, today I'm going to start thinking like a thought leader. The first element that you need to focus on is the mindset shift because, thought leaders think differently. There are questions that they ask themselves that usually leaders don't wake up every day in the morning and ask themselves. So there are a few things that I strongly recommend people to start doing or thinking differently. when they're looking at progressing or growing in their journey of thought leadership, first of all, ask yourself, what is it that I bring on the table in terms of my value proposition and expertise, unlike anyone else? And don't limit it to that one niche that you think you have because you've been doing it for the last 5 years or you've been doing it for the last 15 or 20 years. Ask yourself, what are my diverse passions and skills and areas of interest from which I have amassed a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and connect the dots between these diverse schools of thoughts and see if you can bring together these different areas of interest and align it into something which is your own creation, your own new perspective of looking at a problem or an opportunity in your industry that nobody else has seen it in that way, right? So that is where the power of perspective and vision starts building you as a thought leader, because thought leaders think differently. And when you start asking yourself these questions, that what is it that I want to do tomorrow using the amazing legacy of expertise, experience, knowledge, and wisdom that I have amassed, and create a new way of doing something or change an old way of doing something because it no longer works in today's parlance, and start taking constructive steps in making that happen. So the first is at these questions and connect the dots to bring together diverse schools of thoughts in something brand new that nobody has thought of doing. After that, you need to test drive your big idea. We call it your big brand idea, right? Something that you've come up with after so much of introspection, extrospection,
Right.
reflection, visionary thinking. And then you need to test drive that idea with a subset of colleagues, peers, mentors to understand if what you're thinking and imagining is also relevant. Because many times, we are so driven in our own creative pursuits that we may get so attached to our idea that we may not be able to have a pragmatic approach or objectivity around it. So we need to have an outside in perspective towards our big idea as a thought leader, whether it's even relevant, whether it's resonating with people, whether it's comprehensible to the people as well, right? So do a beta test of your idea with those people whose opinion and inputs you would value, because they will give you a diverse perspective. And third, and the most important thing is then finally test drive it with actual clients or a community who would ideally be a subset of people who would pay for that value proposition or product or service that you have envisioned, or you've already created a prototype, or you've created a working model of the product or service or whatever it is that is your big idea's manifestation. So these are the three things. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. First, you'll have to invest that time in understanding yourself, your industry, your opportunities, bring together diverse schools of thought into creating something brand new that did not exist before as a perspective and value proposition, your big idea as a thought leader. Then let's drive it and get it validated from community of people who are your mentors, peers, colleagues, or industry leaders in your own industry, to understand whether you are on the right track or not. And then test drive it to actually see if you have paying customers or clients who would be willing to invest in it because they see value in it. So it doesn't really matter if you're in an organization or an entrepreneur. Everyone who aspires to be a thought leader should adopt this thought process of not just thinking, but testing, validating, and experimenting with their target audience in this fashion. It's going to take approximately 6 months to 10 months for anyone to complete this journey. But once you've completed this journey, you are set for the next 5 years of your career and journey of thought leadership, because then the journey thereafter is sharing your message with the world, because you've done that work, that brand work, that groundwork to build your thought leadership ecosystem and idea and products and services or philosophies, whatever it is. After that, it's all about marketing, is what I call it. First you build your brand as a you build your idea and foundation, and then you market it to the world.
Great. How can organizations benefit by a culture of thought leadership?
I
How
think
can yeah.
I think today, in fact, it's more important than ever to instill a culture of thought leadership driven thinking in any organization, whether it's an SME or a Fortune 100 company, because the kind of times we are living in today, we really want everyone to start thinking differently about the opportunities, problems, challenges, on how we can not only be leaders and change makers or disruptors in our own industry, but in our own organization as well to make things more streamlined, to have more efficiency in place in terms of the way we work, the products and services and experiences or value we create for our clients and customers who are looking up to us to help solve their problems and challenges. So, any organization, of course, over the last 9 years, I've worked with a lot of CXOs, CEOs to help them evolve as thought leaders. But I think a lasting change and impact can happen in the organization when this culture of thought leadership, orientation, development, coaching is trickled down towards all tiers of the organization. Because why do you want to have only one or six people or 10 people in the organization in the top rung of the C suite think as thought leaders? Imagine the kind of groundbreaking opportunities, ideas, insights that can emerge when this practice is adapted at all tiers of the organization. Imagine how much of an empowerment you'll be giving to people to start thinking differently than what they're expected to do in their jobs, to bring together diverse schools of thoughts, perspectives, explore, envision, and try and create new ways or better ways of doing things than what they have been trained to do or expected to do. So I think it's all about empowering each and every tier of employees or talent in the organization to start thinking differently, because the treasure of wisdom that can emerge from that is going to absolutely rival that treasure of knowledge and wisdom that is going to be resting in that C-suite. Imagine, it's going to be amplified with the power of 100x at least. There's so many emerging thought leaders in the organization, and the knowledge pool gets, I like to call it as a collective thought leadership quotient of the organization. The knowledge pool gets accumulated as a collective thought leadership ecosystem in the organization, which can only help an organization outdo itself, outgrow itself, outperform its competition a lot faster than what it would take if the entire organization is not having a thought leadership culture infused in it.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, you've shared from the starting, what is personal branding. You shared, why it's important to build a personal brand. You've also
Right.
shared the benefits of personal branding. And last but not least, also the fact that this is a journey. This is not something that's going to be happening overnight. It could take 6 to 9 months, perhaps up to a year. But once you invest that time to invest in your personal brand, then that's something that's going to help you for the foreseeable, years ahead. There's no question in my mind. And also the myth of people think this is an individual thing. Yes, you can build your personal brand both as an entrepreneur, as a corporate leader, but actually just to create a culture of thought leadership as well in organizations is something that's very important for a lot of corporates. You've worked with several corporates, especially in India and regionally as well, with corporate leaders, and seeing the transformation happen. So, on just maybe perhaps on a lighter note, I mean, we mentioned about LinkedIn earlier. That's something you're seeing online. On a lighter note, perhaps, orange is in my corporate logo. I'm wearing orange today. Perhaps there's an orange strap. Is dress code also something that's also represents your personal brand? Because yes, we're not networking as much as we used to, but whether it's
Right.
virtual or offline, the way you dress synonymous. We have a Marshall Goldsmith who is dressed casual, but he's consistently dressing in the color green. So when you think of green, you relate to him with that sort of dress code. It's casual, smart, casual, but some people dress with the suits. Some people are very casual. So how does dress code on a lighter note also reflect the kind of brand you're looking to build?
There's no right way of approaching a dress code. I think it's extremely important today as well, whether it's virtual or in person events that you're doing, to resonate your dressing with who you are as a person and what kind of message you want to send out. So if you're somebody who's extremely casual, laid back, and you can wear casual clothes, whether you've done that in the pre-pandemic era as well, whether you're gracing a stage or going for meetings. So I don't think that has shifted too much in a virtual world of living. So for me, I was always somebody who would always love to be dressed in extremely formal attires. I've always formally dressed for my events or my meetings or anything. And today as well, when I have important meetings or presentations or client pitches, I'm always dressed up in my pantsuits or sport suits. But again, in a discussion like this, I'm dressed elegantly formal today. So that's the brand DNA that you have. Who you are as a person, how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself. Just try stay true to that. Doesn't really matter if it's a virtual or a real life interaction anymore, because that experience of your personal brand is going to resonate with people, whether it's virtual or real life. So stay true to that. I think wearing colors is great for your personal brand resonance, because if you think, like in my brand logo, there's always black. So honestly, it wasn't very intentional, but my wardrobe is 90% black today. And it wasn't because my logo is black, it was just because I love the color black. And it's such a powerful color for a woman to be dressed in black pantsuit or skirts whenever you're speaking on a stage in front of 1,000 leaders. So that's something that happened automatically. It wasn't very intentional for me. It was something that I felt very comfortable and powerful in. So ask yourself what you are comfortable in, what you are powerful in, and then take a call. Really don't get so obsessed about colors or anything, but who is your target audience? What kind of signals they will subconsciously perceive when they see you in that outfit? What is the formality of the event or the occasion? So ask these questions and then decide what kind of brand presentation you want to give them, or what kind of brand experience you want to give them visually as far as your clothing and dressing is concerned.
No, fantastic. It is something unique. There is no right or wrong answer as such. At the end of the day, you should be comfortable. You should be confident in what you wear, and it should represent you and perceived well by your target audience is important. Another question is relating to a lot of, I've been noticing a lot of the thought leaders have obviously written books. So, people say by writing a book, I'm seen as an authority. It gives me credibility as well. Do you see writing a book on the topic that you're looking to be seen as a thought leader, and in the journey of building your personal brand, how important is it to write a book?
A lot of people will disagree with me on this perspective, but I still maintain this stand. If 9 out of 10 people come to me telling me that they want to write a book, then I'm going to tell them, please don't, right? Because it doesn't matter if you've been in the industry for 5 years, 10 years, or 25 years. If you don't have a unique perspective, like I said, if you've not done the work on extracting your thought leadership, if you've not had the opportunity to look at your life with the lens of thought leadership and extract what you want to do next, how you want to tell the story of your life from a perspective that you are changing things now for better, not only for yourself but for everyone else. Do not write a book. If you're not adding a new perspective, if you're just documenting something, do not write a book. If you're changing the way you want something that has been happening in the world, and you have devised or created or experimented and tested and proven a way of doing it in a better way than what it used to be so far, then by all means go ahead and write a book, because there's so many books out there. You'll just be adding one more to the clutter. But if you've done that work, if you know what is your big idea, how you're changing the game, how you've changed the game, how you're sharing that story with everyone else to help them change the game, that is a book worthy of being called a thought leadership masterpiece. So my advice to 9 out of 10 people is don't write a book unless you have something absolutely unique to add to the generic content available in that subject matter expertise. I hope that
Absolutely.
helps.
Absolutely. I really resonate with your answer, because it's not about just writing a book for the sake of writing a book. You've got to make sure it's unique, it's compelling, it adds tremendous value, because otherwise it's another book on the shelf. It's not going to be adding value.
So
So, I
one
mean,
advice
go
I
ahead,
give,
please.
yes, one advice I usually give to people is ask yourself, if I'm writing a book, am I being a category creator? Or I'm just being another follower and writing the book with just a little more content or my life experience or anything? If the answer is yes, there is no such perspective on this topic, I am a category creator, then by all means write the book like yesterday.
Fantastic. No, thanks very much. I really enjoyed our conversation today and the time we spent together. I mean, if someone wants to connect with you, is it best to just visit tanvibhatt.com? I put the website there in the bottom of the screen. So if someone would like to learn more about personal branding, you'd like to connect with Tanvi, you can obviously connect with her on LinkedIn, connect with myself on LinkedIn. But I do encourage you to visit Tanvi's website. It'll give you the You learn more about her profile, her journey, and how she can perhaps collaborate with you and your organization to build a culture of thought leadership and help you as a leader build your personal brand in whatever area of expertise you want to be seen as. I can say from personal experience and from some of my leadership friends who have worked with Tanvi that it's been an absolute pleasure, and she's definitely helped us transform as leaders. So, Tanvi, any closing words before we wrap up?
Yes, absolutely. I think today, more importantly, we need to be addressing the power of an idea that a person can come up with based on the journey that he or she has gone through, based on the beautiful life lessons that he or she has gone through, and figure out how will this idea transform the lives of people who have not had the opportunity to walk in your shoes. Because all of us have such beautiful, unique journeys, and that gives us such beautiful, unique perspectives, lessons, wisdom quotient, and how it has shaped our own consciousness today as human beings. So, thought leaders are nothing but, I think, people who are adding to the collective consciousness of humanity with their own unique perspectives. Because you are somebody who feels that spiritual pull to share your life lesson, to share your journey, to share the knowledge and wisdom that you have amassed in your journey of life and add to this collective consciousness. Reach out to us. We can definitely help you bring your entire life together, extract the best out of it, help you extract your big brand idea and thought leadership ecosystem around it, and share that with the world so you are also on your journey of becoming a thought leader and, more importantly, building a legacy that is going to outlive you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tanvi. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will stay closely in touch and encourage everyone to connect with Tanvi on LinkedIn and visit the website tanvibhatt.com. Thank you very much, Tanvi.
Thank you so much, Gautam, for hosting me. It's an amazing experience every time that we speak and connect. And thank you for asking some fabulous questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.
Bye bye.